Oh, hell no.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, I can't make you do that.
All right, all right, all right.
All right. I'll be on back. All right, thank you everybody for coming. We're excited to have Rod Owens here. He's going to have an excellent little Shakespeare show for us. Friendly reminder, if you could silence your cell phones or shut them off completely. That way we don't interrupt your masterful performance. All right, give everybody get a round of applause for Rod.
Just remember what this show is about. I said if I could just remember what the show is about. There we go. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to Come Here, Shakespeare. I'm Rod Owens, as Mike said. But before the official introduction of this show, I'd like to take you folks on a trip back to 1963 to Mahopac, New York, where I went to high school, to Miss Keith's 9th grade English class, and the first Shakespearean speech I ever memorized. It comes from As You Like It, one of Shakespeare's more popular comedies, and it stars melancholy Jaques. Why is he referred to this way? Well, just listen to his 7 Ages of Man speech, and you may get an idea. However, I'd like you folks to, if you would be so kind, to help me out by introducing Jaques' speech by reading or speaking 4 lines of the lovely, wise Duke Sr., which can be found in your program under As You Like It. Everybody find those 4 lines. They're italicized, just to make sure you can notice them. And I'll say the lines first, just to get us warmed up. And then if you folks would become Duke Sr. and say those lines, I'll then respond to you as Jaques, exactly like I did back in 1963 in Miss Keith's English class. So the 4 lines are, and remember, they're Shakespeare, it's a little bit juicy. How's it start again?
Thou seest.
Of course, I can do that. Thou seest, we are not all alone unhappy. This wide and universal theater presents more woeful pageants than this scene wherein we play in. Everybody got that? Everybody read? No? Okay, so if you folks would now become Duke Sr. and say those lines, I'll then respond to you. Ready? Take it away, Duke.
Thou seest we are not all alone unhappy. This wide and universal theater presents more woeful pageants than the scene wherein we play.
I couldn't understand a single word. But thank you very much.
Bostonian accent.
What's that?
The Bostonian accent.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
I thought it was that everybody was speaking different words at the same time. Thank you very much. And now, Jaques. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. And then, the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then, the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. And then, a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved a world too wide for his shrunk shank. And his big manly voice turning again to childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Oh, thank you very much. Okay,
Did you get an A?
I gave myself a B+.
I'm talking about back in the,
Oh, back in Miss Keith's class?
Yeah.
I don't remember. So,
oh, if you got an A, you probably remember.
okay, good. This is going to be a juicy show today, folks. A little bit more trade back and forth. Where's the bouncer when you... Kelly, you... Fine. That's the way it's going to be? Yeah.
You don't want more chips to throw.
Okay.
I thought
Well,
this was a one-man show.
One man, one audience person also. Okay, and now for the official introduction. I'm Rod Owens, and we're here today to welcome William Shakespeare, his wonderful words and cool characters into our heads and hearts, I hope, a bit more deeply, perhaps, than before. How's that, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. Hopefully by our sharing 15 passages spoken by 12 characters from 5 of the Bard's greatest plays, As You Like It, The Tempest, Hamlet, The Merchant of Venice, and King Lear. Now, you might be asking, well, gee whiz, Rod, how did this show come about? I figured you're all wondering that right now. Am I right?
Right.
Okay. Well, let me tell you. Last summer, my pal Bill Salem and I discussed putting on a program of Shakespeare. Bill then developed, yes, that's him. Looking at me. Yes. Word gets around about Bill, yes. Bill developed a show called Bill and Rod's Excellent Shakespearean Adventure, a title I was very jealous that he came up with. And we performed it twice to wonderful responses. But when Bill decided to temporarily retire his show, I decided to hire myself to create Come Here Shakespeare. And here we are at the premiere. That's why I got a B+ instead of an A. At the premiere. But because the show has a great portion of it based upon Bill's, I'd like to thank him right now. And there he is, folks. Bill Shakespeare, give it up. Folks are very generous. You haven't even heard his show and you're applauding.
You said it was very good.
And you
The
believe
summer
me?
one. Well, you told me.
Lives right across the street. I tell her so much stuff that none of it is true, but she believes me every time. All right. Aside from the show, what's going on in the show? What did I last say? Oh, the show. Okay. But I thank you folks very much for being here at the premiere. And anybody wishes to make any comments afterwards by email or Facebook or in person?
I don't think he has to ask.
Okay.
No.
I need help.
Okay.
It's a tough crowd.
Yeah. In a library, you don't expect a tough crowd. Everybody should be sitting there. Okay. Okay, we're up to The Tempest. So we're going to begin with The Tempest. The Tempest was written around 1610. It was the last of 36 plays. 36 plays that Shakespeare wrote by himself. And let's see what happens. Oh, and in this play, Prospero, who's the main character, has was Duke of Milan, but was usurped. His dukedom was usurped, and he was sent out to sea in a butt carcass of a boat, whatever that is, with his 3-year-old daughter Miranda, ostensibly forever. But they land on an island where they live for 12 years, and with only 2 cohabitants, Caliban, the son of the deceased witch Sycorax, and Ariel, a spirit, both of whom are now slaves of Prospero. Well, as the play opens, Prospero magically creates the tempest which shipwrecks his old enemies on the island, lands them on the island. And in our first scene, we're going to see Prospero, played by me right here, and also Caliban over there under that rock. You see him over there under that rock where he lives? He'll be there for a little bit. Also played by me. I wanted to make that clear so you don't think I'm going schizophrenic on you and talking back and forth to myself. I'll be Caliban over there. And then there's Miranda, Prospero's now 15-year-old lovely daughter, sitting right here in this chair. Everybody can see her, I hope. Got a good view of Miranda? Cool. Okay. And guess who's going to be playing Miranda? Okay. Prospero speaks. Come on. We'll visit Caliban, my slave, who never yields us kind answer. But as it is, we cannot miss him. He does make our fire, fetch in our wood, and serves in offices that profit us. What ho! Slave! Caliban! Thou earth thou! Speak! There is wood enough within. Come forth, I say. There's other business for thee. Come, thou tortoise. When? Thou poisonous slave, got by the devil himself upon thy wicked dam, come forth. As wicked do, as ere my mother brushed with raven's feather from unwholesome fen, drop on you both. A southwest blow on ye, and blister you all o'er. For this, be sure, tonight thou shalt have cramps, side stitches that shall pen thy breath up. Urchins shall, for that fast of night that they may work, all exercise on thee. Thou shalt be pinched as thick as honeycomb, each pinch more stinging than bees that made them. I must eat my dinner. This island's mine, by Sycorax, my mother, which thou takest from me. When thou camest first, thou strokest me, and made much of me, which give me water with berries in it, and teach me how to name the bigger light, and how the less that burn by day and night, and then I love thee, and show thee all the qualities of the isle, the fresh springs, brine pits, barren place and fertile. Cursed be I that did so. All the charms of Sycorax, toads, beetles, bats, light on you, for I am all the subjects that you have, which first was mine own king. And here you stymie in this hard rock, whilst you do keep from me the rest of the island. Thou most lying slave, whose stripes may move not kindness, I have used thee, filth as thou art, with humane care, and lodged thee in mine own cell, till thou didst seek to violate the honor of my child. Would it had been done. Thou didst prevent me. I had peopled else this isle with Calibans. Thou abhorrent slave, any print of goodness wilt not take. I pitied thee, took pains to make thee speak, taught thee each hour one thing or other. When thou didst not, savage, know thine own meaning, but wouldst gabble like a thing most brutish, I endowed thy purposes with words that made them known. But thy vile race, though thou didst learn, had that in it which good natures could not abide to be with. Therefore wast thou deservedly confined into this rock, who had deserved more than a prison. You taught me language, and my profit on it is, I I know how to curse. The red plague rid you for learning me your language. Hagseed hence, fetch us in fuel, and be quick thou art best to answer other business. Shruggest thou malice? If thou neglect'st, or dost unwillingly what I command, I'll rack thee with old cramps, fill all thy bones with aches, make thee roar, that beasts shall tremble at thy din. No, pray thee. I must obey. His art is of such power, it would control my dance god Setebus, and make a vassal of him. So, slave, hence. End of scene. See you later. I'm going out for a drink. Okay. Well, when we next see Caliban, he's walking along, carrying a load of wood and railing against Prospero. Near the end of his speech, he's going to see in the distance Trinculo, a drunken servant from the ship, who is coming in his direction. All the infections that the sun sucks up from bogs, fens, flats, and Prosper fall, and making by inch meal a disease. His spirits hear me, yet I needs must curse. But they'll nor pinch, fright me with urgent shows, pitch me in the mire, nor lead me like a firebrand in the dark out of my way, unless he bid them. But for every trifle are they set upon me, sometime like apes that mow and chatter at me, and after bite me. Then like hedgehogs, which lie tumbling in my barefoot way, and mount their pricks at my footfall. Sometime am I all wound with adders, who with cloven tongues do hiss me into madness. Lo, now lo, here comes a spirit of his to torment me for bringing wood in slowly. I'll fall flat, perchance he will not mind me. Well, in a little bit, Caliban now addresses both Trinculo and his fellow drunken servant, Stefano. And they are, at this point, being convinced, or attempting to be convinced by Caliban, to kill Prospero. And actually, at this point, Trinculo and Stefano have already convinced Caliban to partake of liquor. Would you two be willing to play Trinculo and Stefano? You don't have to say anything, you just have to sit here drunk.
That works.
May I?
Have some. Sit up.
Some fluorescence. All right, there you go.
Why, as I told thee, wake up. Too much into the part. No coaching at all on that. As I told thee, 'tis his custom in the afternoon to sleep. There thou mayst brain him, having first seized his books, or with a log batter his skull, or paunch him with a stake, or cut his weasand with thy knife. Remember first to possess his books, for without them he's but a sot, as I am, nor have not one spirit to command. They all do hate him as rootedly as I. Burn but his books. He has brave utensils, for so he calls them, which when he has a house he'll deck withal. And that most deeply to consider is the beauty of his daughter. He himself calls her a nonpareil. I never saw a woman, but only cigarettes, my dam, and she as far surpasses cigarettes, as greatest does least. A little while later, Caliban again addresses Trinculo and Stefano because they're freaking out upon hearing some noises that are made on the island by Ariel, the servant-slave spirit of Prospero. Art thou afeared? Be not afeared. The isle is full of noises, sounds, sweet airs that give delight. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears. And sometimes voices that, if I then had waked after long sleep, will make me sleep again. And then, in dreaming, the clouds methought would open and show riches ready to drop upon me. That when I waked, I cried to dream again. I'd now like to sing a little song sung by the spirit servant slave Ariel, sweetly sung to Ferdinand, the son of King Alonso, both shipwrecked on the island by the tempest, and now the son is sure his father's deceased, and so the spirit sweetly sings this short, sweet song, sweetly sung by the spirit. He will sweetly sing this song, rapidly approaching. It's short, but it's sweet. It's sung. What was the first line again? Oh, yeah. Full fathom 5, thy father lies, of his bones are coral made, those are pearls that were his eyes, nothing of him that doth fade, but does suffer a sea change into something sweet and strange. Sea nymphs hourly ring his knell, ding dong, hark, now I hear them, ding dong bell. Tempest for now. Okay. We're now going. We're now going to move into 2 scenes from that little-known play of Ship. He still wants that bottle again. That was fun. I like it. Let me be Trinculo again. That little-known play of Shakespeare, Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. Okay, as some of you probably know, towards the beginning of the play, Hamlet encounters the ghost of his father, okay, the previous king of Denmark, who tells him that he was murdered by his own brother, and he wishes Hamlet to avenge his murder. Well, in this particular scene, we're going to see Claudius, the king's brother, who murdered the king, in his prayer cell, confessing the murder of his brother, Hamlet's father, Claudius. Oh, my offense is rank, smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder. Pray, can I not? though inclination be as sharp as will, my stronger guilt defeats my strong intent, and like a man to double business bound, I stand in pause where I shall first begin, and both neglect. What if this cursed hand were thicker than itself with brother's blood? Is there not rain enough in the sweet heavens to wash it white as snow? Whereto serves mercy but to confront the visage of offense? And what's in prayer but this twofold force, to be forestalled ere we come to fall, or pardoned being down? Then I'll look up. My fault is past. Oh, what form of prayer can serve my turn? Forgive me my foul murder? It cannot be, since I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder. My crown, my own ambition, and my queen. May one be pardoned and retain the offense? In the corrupted currents of this world, offense's gilded hand may shove by justice, and oft to seeing the wicked prize itself buys out the law. But 'tis not so above. There is no shuffling. There the action lies in his true nature, and we ourselves compelled, even to the teeth and forehead of our faults, to give in evidence. What then? What rests? Try what repentance can. What can it not? But what can it when one cannot repent? Oh, wretched state! A bosom black as death. A limed soul that, struggling to be free, art more engaged. Help, angels! Make us say, bow, stubborn knees, and heart with strings of steel, be soft as sinews of the newborn babe. All may be well. At this point, Hamlet walks by. Now, might I do it pat? Now he is praying. Now I'll do it. And so he goes to heaven. And so am I revenged. That would be scanned. A villain kills my father, and for that I, his sole son, do this same villain send to heaven. Why, this is hire and salary, not revenge. He took my father grossly, full of bread, with all his crimes broad blown, as flush as May. And how his audit stands, who knows save heaven? But in our circumstance and course of thought, 'tis heavy with him. And am I then revenged to take him in the purging of his soul when he is fit and seasoned for his passage? No, no, up sword. And know thou a more horrid hint. When he is drunk asleep, or in his rage, or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed, at game a swearing, or about some act that has no relish of salvation in it, then trip him, that his heels may kick at heaven, and that his soul may be as damned and black as hell, whereto it goes. My mother stays. This physic but prolongs thy sickly days. words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts never to heaven go. End of scene. Ready for the next scene. Okay. Which stars, again, Claudius and Hamlet. Oh boy, because after the prayer scene, Hamlet goes up to his mother's room and hearing somebody behind the tapestry, thinking it's Claudius, runs his sword through the tapestry, killing Polonius. Thought it was Claudius. It wasn't. It was Polonius. Who was, just to make sure you're clear about that. It wasn't Claudius, it was Polonius. Okay. Who was Claudius's advisor. And what he does is he lugs the guts, as he says, into the neighbor room. He puts the body somewhere in the castle. And of course, Claudius hears about this from his wife, who was there at the time. And Claudius sends out his men to find Hamlet and the body. Well, they find Hamlet. And by the way, at this point, Claudius is more than ready for Lucy to come in. Claudius is more than ready to send Hamlet, ship him overseas to England, where he expects the king there to kill Hamlet. So Claudius begins. Bring him before us. Now, Hamlet, where's Polonius? At supper. At supper? Where? Not where he eats, but where he is eaten. A certain convocation of politic worms are even at him. Your worm is your only emperor for diet. We fat all creatures else to fat us, and we fat ourselves for maggots. Your fat king and your lean beggar is but variable service. 2 dishes, but to 1 table, that's the end. Alas, alas, a man may fish with a worm that hath eat of a king, and eat of the fish that hath fed of that worm. What dost thou mean by this? Nothing, but to show you how a king may go a progress through the guts of a beggar. Where's Polonius? In heaven. Send thither to see. If your messenger find him not there, seek him in the other place yourself. But if indeed you find him not within this month, you shall nose him as you go up the stairs into the lobby. Go, seek him there. He will stay till ye come. Hamlet, this deed, for thine especial safety, which we do tender as we dearly grieve for that which thou hast done, must send thee hence with fiery quickness. Therefore prepare thyself. The bark is ready, the winded help, the associates tend, and everything is bent for England. For England. Aye, Hamlet. Good. So is it, if thou knewest our purposes. I see a cherub that sees them. But come, for England, farewell, dear mother, thy loving father, Hamlet. My mother, father and mother is man and wife. Man and wife is one flesh, and so my mother. Come, for England. Bit of juicy verbal swordplay going on there, if you noticed. Yeah. They're not necessarily pals of each other, for obvious reasons. Well, we've now seen war within a family, and we're going to move on now to war between races. In The Merchant of Venice, Antonio, a Gentile merchant, infamous, has borrowed money from Shylock, a Jewish moneylender, but is unable to pay by the allotted time. And so, according to the contract, Antonio now owes Shylock a pound of flesh, literally. Okay, you've probably heard that phrase before, pound of flesh. Well, by the way, Shylock has been repeatedly belittled by Antonio in public, and Antonio has spit on him in public, called him a dog in public. And at the same time that this is going on, Shylock's daughter Jessica has run away, has eloped with one of Antonio's friends, and has taken, a Gentile of course, and has taken Shylock's money and jewels with them. So at this point, I would love for you folks to again help out as wonderfully as you did before with speaking 2 lines, only 2 lines. I know some of you are like, no, I want to speak more than just 2 lines. Come on, I'm going to be Shakespeare now. Okay, so 2 lines from The Merchant of Venice. It's on your sheet. I'll read those lines first. They're outside. This is Solario, another Gentile friend of Antonio, who's been taunting Shylock in the streets, and now addresses him regarding the money, the debt that Antonio owes Shylock. So Solario says, why, I am sure if he forfeit, thou wilt not take his flesh. What's that good for? And then I'll respond to you as Solario?
Why, I am sure if he forfeit, thou wilt not take his flesh. What's that good for?
You're getting better and better. To bait fish withal. If it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. He hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated my enemies. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why, revenge. The villainy you teach me, I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. Well, Shakespeare, of course, being Shakespeare, follows up that rather painful scene with a love scene. He's pretty good at this balancing stuff. And in this scene, Bassanio friend of Antonio, in fact, the one that Antonio borrowed the money for so that Antonio could woo Portia, the lovely lady from Belmont, nearby Belmont. Bassanio has won the hand of Portia, and he's now rather ecstatic, and he's addressing her. I love this. It's a very short little speech, but I love it just because of the language, Shakespeare's language. Madam, you have bereft me of all words. Only my blood speaks to you in my veins. And there is such confusion in my powers as after some oration fairly spoke by a beloved prince, there does appear among the buzzing, pleased multitude, where every something being blent together turns to a wild of nothing save of joy, expressed and not expressed. Isn't that a pretty little speech? It's so short, but it's like, ow. Well, in our next scene, Portia has come from Belmont to Venice to help since Bassanio is a good friend of Antonio, and Antonio is on trial with Shylock, who is demanding the pound of flesh from him in court. Portia comes disguised as a lawyer, a young man, of course. Shakespeare has fun with switching back and forth between sexes, etc. Portia comes there to help defend Antonio. And at one point in court, Portia says to Shylock, and she's the lawyer now, "Must then the Jew be merciful?" Shylock responds, "On what grounds must I be merciful? Tell me that." Portia responds, "The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesses him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show like as God's when mercy seasons justice. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy. And that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy." But Portia's speech doesn't work. Why? I sometimes imagine that Shylock is about to lean towards mercy until Portia speaks one word that perhaps undoes her whole argument. Perhaps. Can anybody guess what one word I'm thinking of that Portia uses that maybe messes up the whole deal? Yes?
Obligation?
Obligation! Absolutely not. No. I was looking forward to humiliating somebody. Actually, I was looking forward to somebody saying the answer that I'm thinking of. One word that she uses that Shylock probably doesn't like too much. Yes. Therefore, Jew, I tried to emphasize that too. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, if you were Shylock and you heard that, how might you respond? And consider this. In the whole courtroom scene, Act 4, Scene 1, not just this one speech, Shylock is referred to by his name, Shylock, 5 times. He's referred to as Jew, or the Jew, 23 times. 5 times Shylock, 23 times Jew. What's the effect of this? And here we are, folks, 400 years later, and still prejudice, racial, religious, sexual, still wounds our world. Surprise, surprise. Yet I kind of think that Shakespeare, being the incredible scholar of human nature that he was, would not really be surprised at our sorry state of affairs. Okay. Well, we've seen a couple of serious antagonists. How about more lighthearted antagonists? You guys remember Jaques, our melancholy pal from All the World's a Stage? In this scene, from As You Like It, Jaques is going to confront Orlando, a young man who has been writing love songs for Rosalind and hanging them on trees because he pines for her.
Oh, that was bad.
I heard one person laugh, though it might not have been with me, it might have been at me. Okay, I'll just say he pines for her. I forgot.
Go on.
Yeah, sure, thanks a lot. He pines for her. Because he pines for her. Oh, that was a joke, that's right. In the Forest of Arden. Okay. Jaques commences this verbal swordplay duel between him and Orlando. I thank thee for the company, but good faith, I had as lief have been myself alone. And so had I, but yet for fashion's sake, I thank you too for your society. God be with you. Let's meet as little as we can. I do desire we may be better strangers. I pray you, mar no more trees with writing love songs in their barks. I pray you, mar no more of my verses with reading them ill-favoredly. Rosalind is your love's name? Yes, Judge. I do not like her name. There was no thought of pleasing you when she was christened. What stature is she of? Just as high as my heart. Oh, you are full of pretty answers. Have you not been acquainted with goldsmiths' wives and conned them out of rings? Not so, but I answer you right painted cloth from whence you have studied your questions. Oh, you have a nimble wit. I think 'twas made of Atalanta's heels. Will you sit down with me, and we two will rail against our mistress the world and all our misery? I will chide no breather in this world but myself, against whom I know most faults. The worst fault you have is to be in love. 'Tis a fault I will not change for your best virtue. I am weary of you. By my troth, I was seeking for a fool when I found you. He is drowned in the brook. Look but in, and you shall see him. There I shall see mine own figure, which I take to be either a fool or a cipher. Well, I'll tarry no longer with you. Farewell, good Signor Love. I am glad of your departure. Adieu, good Monsieur Melancholy. Our last speech, before the epilogue, comes from King Lear. And very briefly, Lear and his daughter Cordelia are waiting. They're surrounded by soldiers. They're waiting to be taken away to prison. And I love this speech from the last act of the play because it has personal resonance for me. It's about a father reconciling with his child. So Lear says to Cordelia, "No, no, no, no. Come, let's away to prison. We two alone will sing like birds in the cage. when thou dost ask me blessing, I'll kneel down and ask of thee forgiveness. So we'll live and pray and sing and tell old tales and laugh at gilded butterflies and hear poor rogues talk of court news. And we'll talk with them too, who loses and who wins, who's in, who's out. And take upon us the mystery of things, as if we were God's spies. And we'll wear out in a walled prison pacts and sects of great ones that ebb and flow by the moon. Upon such sacrifices, my Cordelia, the gods themselves throw incense. Have I caught thee? He that parts us shall bring a brand from heaven and fire us hence like foxes. Wipe thine eyes. The good years shall devour them, flesh and fell, ere they shall make us weep. We'll see 'em starved first. Come. Epilogue. Our revels now are ended. These are actors. As I foretold you, we're all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit, shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a wreck behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Thank you. Anybody want to ask a few questions or make any comments or complain as you go?
I had to memorize.
Oh, she's ready. She's ready.
The quality of mercy is not strange. I had to memorize that in high school.
And did you get an A?
I always got A's.
Oh, geez. No wonder she's such a critic.
Nicely done.
That was great.
That was awesome.
Anybody have any questions about anything? Or yes?
Have you seen a lot of these plays?
A lot.
Or have you seen
Maybe-
these plays several times?
Maybe half of his 36 plays I've seen. Maybe a little more. But you know, I've studied in the last year since Bill and I had started on our adventure. I've been watching the plays like crazy, but again, mostly about half of them. Some of the histories I've more recently got into. Henry IV, Part 1 and 2, Henry V. But Lear, played by Olivier. I've seen probably 5 different versions of Lear, but Olivier is my favorite.
James
He's not bad.
James Earl Jones.
What?
James Earl Jones is amazing.
Yeah.
That's all. James Earl Jones.
Really?
Shakespeare in the Park in New York City. It's amazing.
I'll bet.
Yeah. He's
I saw a Hamlet, a bunch of Hamlets, but there was one by the Royal Shakespeare Company. And speaking of James Earl Jones, this black dude was a pretty much basically black cast, and it was incredible. Again, Royal Shakespeare Company, but he was I don't know. I think I might have liked him better than Olivier as Hamlet. He was just more natural, kind of, believable as a human being. Olivier is, of course, magnificent But,
You ever seen Ian McKellen's reading, acting Shakespeare?
yes,
Yeah.
I did see that. And that's when I decided not to do this. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Ian McKellen,
Yeah.
yikes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. It's not bad.
Nah, yeah, Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Great
Do
job.
you guys have favorite Shakespeare?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Paul Scofield's Lear.
I've heard that.
Paul Scofield, I mean, that was amazing. I didn't see it, I heard it in the recording.
Yeah, I have the recording, yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing.
Yes.
And when he does reason, well, not reason more,
Reason Not to Need.
Need,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
It's an amazing
Yeah.
speech.
Yeah. There are a couple other good actors out there.
Oh, my God. There's a few.
Anything else, any other comments, questions?
Great job.
Thanks.
That's good.
All
Wonderful.
right.
Thank
Yes,
you.
wait, from a fellow English teacher.
Not to put a damper on anything, number one, thank you for touching our spirits, and I thank Shakespeare for touching our spirits. In the voice of Shakespeare or in the voice of yourself, what do you think about the situation with Shakespeare being banned in schools at this point?
What, really? Really?
I mean,
Heard that.
it's the same thing with
Oh,
To
yeah.
Kill a Mockingbird being banned,
Yeah.
or, As I Lay Dying, or whatever. They're all, it's like, it's a loss. It's giving people the opportunity to, for me particularly with Shakespeare, to appreciate human beings really being human beings and hearing their thoughts through their words, and understanding what's going on inside of them. And, can't we identify with that? Can't we identify with people being angry, sad, hurt, whatever? And when those words are expressed, powerfully, beautifully, I think it helps, for me, it helps me, maybe more accept myself as a flawed human being or whatever. So yeah, how about you? What are your thoughts on
It's your show, you just expressed it very well.
Okay.
I agree with you 100%.
Is there any particular play that they banned, or all of Shakespeare?
Well, in the schools in Florida, they banned all of Shakespeare.
that? Well, that comes as a shock.
Really?
In particular, Romeo and Juliet, especially in reference to the opening statements, at the beginning of the play.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it's just a human tragedy.
Think of how many kids have been messed up by seeing Romeo and Juliet. Down the tubes.
If there's a way to get messed up, this is a good one.
Yeah, no
Well,
kidding. Yeah.
Anthony, here's your chance to plug. Are you in any upcoming productions?
No, not yet.
Well, you should be.
Well, I've been busy. I mean, ask Kelly.
Yeah.
She says, I don't want to hear Shakespeare anymore at all. Go away, go away. My dog runs away from me now. Yeah, Steve?
It seems like you, or a person would have to know a lot of history and to be able to understand, just to go and see a play like.
Yes and no. I think, in my opinion, I think history helps. Bill has taught me a bit about, the influence of the Renaissance and from like what do you call it, the
Golden Age
of
in Spain
in Spain, but that coincided.
with Shakespeare. Yes.
Right, and I don't know whether Shakespeare heard any of La Vida es Sueño or anything else, or vice versa, but there was a flowering of expansion of the mind and wanting to learn and wanting to check out the classics and just be more knowledgeable, be open to learning, as opposed to the Dark Ages, which we're kind of in now, at least in some areas of the country. So. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think for me, it's more being able to understand the composition of the words. The syntax is so archaic.
Okay.
So history is, I think, is very important. But once you kind of unlock that old style, and then it becomes a lot easier to understand. And it's so much better to hear it out loud.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One thing that used to happen when I used to teach 10, 11, 12 English, and in 10th grade we did that horrible play, Romeo and Juliet, that wicked evil play, and then in Hamlet, we did, Satan's play, Hamlet, yes. But it used to amaze me, we'd be reading often the plays aloud in class, and even the kids that, didn't want to be there, didn't read the other assignments or whatever. But as we were reading it aloud, I could see that they were virtually everybody in the class was following along. I thought, what is it about this? And I came to appreciate, iambic pentameter with the da-da-da-da-da, which is like the beat of the heart kind of. So it works its way in. And the beauty of the language, even though they didn't understand it all, there was just something about the imagery and the metaphors that was like, it's like not stuff that you don't, when you're talking with somebody, every day, you don't always hear this kind of stuff, So it's like sort of ear popping. Ear popping.
You did warn us about that.
What's that?
Sitting in front row, you did warn us about that.
I just told you. Well, they've been drunk for this whole.
I'm good.
Yes, I can see. Enjoy it. And can I have that bottle back?
Oh, that was the next question, actually. Where's the hooch?
I agree. As a former English teacher, I used to do a Christmas carol with my kids every year, and as the years went by, it was harder and harder for them to understand the language. But I still did it with them, and they understood the story because they'd seen it cartoon or whatever. And I also did, played a film for them to play there, so that. But they can't lose that.
Yeah.
I mean, their language is fading away. Texting and
Oh, yeah.
it's amazing.
Is that the Christmas Carol with Alistair Sim?
Yes, best. Isn't that the best?
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I used to ask my kids, in terms of the difficulty of the language, I used to say, okay, you guys that are in sports, and you're on your sports team, would you rather your team play a tougher team or a weaker team? And most of the time, guess what they said? Tougher team. Why? Why do you think they said that?
They get better.
They get better, okay? They play a weaker team, it's like, it's too, I mean, of course, some of them said, yeah, weaker team, definitely. But some of them, a lot of them said, no, we're gonna become better, whatever it was, basketball, rugby or whatever from the school that I was at. And they got better playing a tougher team. And I think it's the same, and I said, this is the same thing with Shakespeare, or with whatever else that was difficult for them to learn. I said, this will be tough. It is tough. It's tough for me. I mean, if there's anybody in here that doesn't find Shakespeare a challenge, more power to you. But I don't understand everything, and I keep reading to understand more and more, but it's always a challenge. But every time when I read Harold Bloom, Harold Goddard, A.C. Bradley, whoever, about this newer woman, Marjorie Gerber or Garber, I forget her name. She's written a great book about all of his plays. And I understand better what's going on and how Shakespeare's magically using his words to affect us. And it's like, cool. It's like seeing, Michael Jordan back in the day, basketball. Or back in my day, Mickey Mantle, Yankees. Yeah, yes.
I think the movies have really helped to educate children and younger people. And if they see Romeo and Juliet in a movie, they can identify and they can, like my grandson was taking a history course a few years back, and the teacher in high school was brilliant because he brought in Hamilton, the movie Hamilton. So I said, boy, that is really a good history teacher.
And the kids got into it.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio's version of Romeo and Juliet. I used that a few times, because it's the cool music, Radiohead, but I prefer myself the 1968 Franco Zeffirelli.
Olivia Hussey.
It's just lyrically,
It's beautiful.
gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
Visually, it's wonderful. But yes, the movies help. Although I've read recently that there were never really that, they didn't sell that many tickets ultimately to the Shakespeare movies. It's not like box office hits like like Fast and the Furious or something like that. But, yeah, whatever can get out there and turn the kids on to Shakespeare. I love, Brown Axe made a number of.
Oh, one of those.
I love Much Ado About Nothing.
Henry V.
Full-length Hamlet. What?
Henry V.
Henry V.
Superb.
Yeah. It's a
Merchant
way.
of Venice with Al Pacino.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Joyce?
But for all this rating of movies, I was thinking, I haven't been to any theater in a long time, and I was feeling that being with a live person, and I could hear you breathing, and, and everybody was reacting, and there was so much feeling in the room. It was really nice to have live noise like that.
Spread the word, folks. I'll be out there again. I'm going to try to bring this to other libraries on the Cape. But also, ultimately, I would like to actually, because I miss teaching, I miss working
Go
with
back to
kids.
school.
I'd love to go to some, if anybody has any contacts in any schools here on the Cape, I'd love to, do an hour show for the kids. And maybe, since I'm greedy, I'd love to go into the classroom with them and, sort of tear apart the different scenes and how Shakespeare's using the language and, putting characters up against each other. I pay them to do that. Although I defer.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah. Kelly's like, no, you won't. We need to make money.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody, for coming, and
Great job.
we'll line up in alphabetical order.
Bye, Heidi. Thank you.